All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a little trip. We're time traveling to the year 2050, and we're going to look past all the shiny sci-fi movie tropes and dive straight into the hard, fascinating data to see exactly what our future actually holds. Let me tell you, it is a world of incredible, massive contrasts. We're talking deep, permanent environmental scars paired with absolutely staggering human innovation.
Here is the roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the intensifying climate crisis, move into the eastward economic shift, explore infrastructure and smart cities, look at the healthcare revolution, and finish up with how we're adapting to tomorrow.
So, as we go through this, I want you to keep one really big question in the back of your mind. What will our world actually look like in 2050? Because yes, we're facing some of the most intense challenges in human history, but the real takeaway here is our incredible, almost stubborn capacity to adapt.
Okay. First things first, we gotta anchor ourselves in the environmental reality. Despite this massive, record-breaking boom in clean energy throughout the 2020s, the data shows we just missed the target. Models indicate that global temperatures are locked in to reach 2.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average by 2100. And honestly, that single number changes everything about how we live.
Section 1. The climate crisis intensifies. The OECD paints a pretty sobering picture here. They call it a triple planetary crisis. So we aren't just dealing with things getting a bit hotter, we're facing accelerating climate change, catastrophic biodiversity loss, and intensifying pollution all at the same time. And the tricky part is, these aren't isolated issues, they're deeply interconnected. It's like a massive domino effect. When one gets worse, it triggers a chain reaction that just magnifies the others.
Now, what's actually driving that crisis? Well, institutional modeling shows that under current policies, agriculture remains the undisputed primary driver of land use change. We're talking about agriculture being responsible for a massive 87% of land conversion by 2050. Our basic need to just feed a growing population is fundamentally reshaping the planet's surface.
To really grasp what that land conversion and climate change actually looks like, let's talk about the Amazon rainforest. In pre-industrial times, it was 7.6 million square kilometers. It was literally the lungs of the Earth, a massive global carbon sink. But by 2050, that shrinks down to about 5.3 million square kilometers. It's become this deeply fragmented, patchy landscape. And here is the most shocking part. Because of droughts, fires, and decay, the entire rainforest region now emits more carbon than it absorbs. We've completely flipped a severe ecosystem tipping point.
But how does that macro-level data translate to your actual, everyday life? Well, for one, North American forests in the Pacific Northwest and Rocky Mountains see a 3 times increase in wildfire-affected areas. In our oceans, the average body size of the marine fish we eat has actually shrunk by nearly a quarter because of changing oxygen levels and heat. And traditional wine regions, places like California and Southern Europe, they experience an 85% drop in suitability. Vineyards literally have to pack up and move north or up into higher elevations. The things we eat, drink, and breathe are just fundamentally altered.
Section 2. The Eastward Economic Shift.
So, while the environment is shifting, the global economy is shifting right along with it, specifically toward Asian markets. Sure, China and India are the massive, obvious players, but look at Indonesia. They experience a nearly 6-fold expansion of their GDP, literally leapfrogging nations like Germany and the UK to take 4th place globally by 2050. The Philippines also sees a massive 6-fold expansion. They capitalized on a young workforce and adapted incredibly fast to technological shifts, while aging populations in places like Europe and Japan really slowed down their growth.
And speaking of technological shifts, you cannot talk about the 2050 economy without talking about Universal Basic Income, or UBI. Thanks to unprecedented job automation and the massive integration of AI into everything, governments worldwide were basically forced to completely rethink wealth distribution. By 2050, UBI isn't an experiment anymore. It's a widespread reality, funded largely by new taxation systems on the very companies benefiting the most from all this AI advancement.
Section 3. Infrastructure and smart cities.
Okay, this next part from Carnegie Mellon University is actually pretty wild. It's this fascinating cause and effect. You might think millions of electric vehicles plugging in at once would totally crash the grid or just shift the pollution over to power plants, right? But no. Increased EV adoption created such a massive demand for electricity that it forced urgent large-scale investments into wind, solar, and battery storage.
The immense burden of charging all those cars forced the grid to modernize so incredibly fast that by 2032, power system emissions dropped five-fold below gasoline levels. The EVs literally forced the grid to go green.
And architecture has to adapt too. By 2050, the smart skyscraper isn't just an office building, it's a self-sufficient machine. Because of resource degradation, these buildings feature internal food and water production. Their exteriors are covered in algae biofuel cells that absorb CO2 and generate electricity at the same time. The ground floors are fully dedicated to AI-controlled public transport shares. And the craziest part? Seamless wireless energy transmission. They literally beam power invisibly between buildings, acting as connected nodes in a giant citywide smart grid.
But zoom out for a second, because the grid doesn't stop at the city limits anymore. We're talking about continent-wide supergrids. Nations realized they had to cooperate on a massive scale to optimize clean power. For example, the intense solar energy generated in North Africa, which is like 3 times the output of Northern Europe, is now transmitted straight across the Mediterranean. They use these hyper-efficient direct current lines to push up to 100 gigawatts of clean power. It completely eliminates energy waste by sending power exactly where it's needed, totally ignoring national borders.
Section 4. The Healthcare Revolution. Let's get a bit more personal now and talk about your body. According to a vision from KPMG, healthcare in 2050 is a fully interconnected, data-driven ecosystem. We've totally moved away from those isolated, once-a-year doctor visits. Instead, you live in a world where your health data flows seamlessly and securely, using tech like blockchain to keep it totally private, which allows researchers and your providers to deliver comprehensive, continuous care.
And the heavy lifter in this ecosystem is AI-enabled diagnostics. We're talking about advanced wearables and even implantable sensors that monitor your vital signs in real time, 24/7. AI algorithms are constantly analyzing all this fast data, detecting invisible patterns, and building predictive models of disease progression. Plus, you have virtual health assistants offering constant support. Basically, AI is catching potential health issues months or even years before you ever feel a single symptom.
So the real paradigm shift here is philosophical. We've officially moved from a reactive system, waiting until you're sick to treat you, to what's called precision medicine. This is hyper-personalized care that is entirely based on your exact genetics, your environment, and your lifestyle. The entire medical industry's focus shifts heavily toward wellness, prevention, and lifestyle modifications, rather than just frantically trying to cure sickness after the fact.
Section 5. Adapting to tomorrow.
Think about how we get around. The slow, polluting, and frankly dangerous travel methods of the early 21st century get completely overhauled. In the 2020s, clean energy peaks. By the 2030s, major airlines are using AI to perfectly optimize flight paths and slash emissions. By the 2040s, AI is fully handling the road networks, virtually eliminating traffic jams and fatal crashes. And by 2050, we've got hypersonic engines, designed by AI, that allow us to travel safely and comfortably anywhere on the planet in under 2.5 hours. We adapted, and we entirely conquered the friction of distance.
Which brings us right back to the core narrative of our explainer today. Yes, the world of 2050 is fundamentally altered. We've lost ancient forests, we've watched marine ecosystems shrink, and we've had to physically retreat from regions that just got too hot. But humanity has aggressively adapted to survive and thrive. We built algae-covered smart cities, we forged massive supergrids across entire continents, and we unlocked the secrets of our own genetics to live longer, healthier lives.
So, I want to leave you with this final, really vital thought. The year 2050, it isn't actually that far away. The infrastructure for this future is literally being laid down right now. The AI is learning right now. Knowing everything we just talked about, how are you preparing for this rapidly approaching reality in your own life, your career, and your community? Thank you so much for exploring the future with me today. Keep learning, keep adapting, and I'll see you in the next one.